Greetings, sunshines and sunnies. It is I, Queen J Lotus, Pimp Sun Kiss, coming at y'all right quick, right fast for a reality read. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done this. Been a while since I have done this here. But this sweet and sour 16th season of Real Housewives of Atlanta has brought us a lot to evaluate. So, that being said, this video is going to be done in parts, and it will be focused on, if you didn't already know or catch on by now, this is going to be surrounding Miss Kenya Moore and Miss Britt Edie. From over there on Real Housewives of Atlanta, y'all know that beefage has ensued, and the scandal was reported on before the season even came out or whatever, but the episodes of such the scandals finally came on over the past 2 Sundays. So Brisket caught up making terroristic threats and veiled terroristic threats. And Kenya caught up, oh gosh, just So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get into the specificities of these cards and questions. And for this video, we are starting at the beginning and the befores and all of that. I am focusing on their initial interaction and, potential initial interactions that we did not get to see, because things may have happened before filming, behind the scenes, in between filming, things of that nature. So I'm starting off the saga with the start-offs of their interactions with each other. And to do this the utmost competently, I also went back and watched their initial interaction scene. Okay? So, all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get into this first layout, which is covering 50 Shades of Did Kenya set out to make Brisket, I'm sorry, I've gotten in the habit of calling her Brisket. I'm going to try to call her Britt for the totality of this video. Because we are dealing, with the divine, so I want to call her name. Did Kenya initially set out to make Britt an enemy? Was she starting with her? Was she picking at her? All that. Was that her initial intent to make Britt an enemy? So I asked that question in a bunch of different ways for this layout. And we have 5 yeses. Well, we'll say we have 5.5 yeses. No, I'm sorry. We have 4.5 yeses, and we have half a no. So for this first card here, the 6 of Pentacles, I asked, did Kenya Moore set out to make Brittany Edie, an enemy once she was casted on the show and Ming Lee wasn't? We got the 6 of Pentacles there. And that is a yes card. Like I said, that is a yes card. And being the fact that it is the 6 of Pentacles, that's dealing with money, and it's also dealing with friend group stuff. This is also a spirit acknowledging that this is a very childish mentality that is at play. It gives group thinking, herd mentality, mean girls. It's bringing up mean girls, Heathers, jawbreakers, the craft, that type friend group, mean girl stuff going on. Some real petty, childish friend group, playground, sandbox, mean girl stuff going on there is what that card is indicating. It is also giving that the feminine being that we see in the imagery of that card can be seen as Kenya. And that is Kenya holding all of the cards, and she's kind of like puppeteering. It's like she's puppeteering people's movements and responses and things of that nature. Dropping small landmines, dropping small bugs in people's ears, saying very small things. It's like, and this is the imagery that they are giving me, it's as if Kenya took a tiny parasite and just dropped it somewhere and then just let it eat up, whatever from the inside out. So it's given that was her intent towards Britt, and that's also some of what she set into play with Britt. She dropped some small parasite, some small little piece of something that she knew would just slowly but surely eat Britt up from the inside out. So this is giving long game intent, and it's tying in directly with also that 6 of Cups there. So there's 2 6s. So that's big confirming energy right there with the 6 of Coins and the 6 of Pentacles. That is earth and water. So money's involved and emotions are also involved. I'm also picking up that there is like relationships, romantic relationships, and sexual relationships involved, also as motivation. And so what that's giving me is it's bringing up that aspect of Ming Lee and Britt having dated some of the same people. I know we know about Rick Ross, but it's giving me that it's some other people that may even be women that they have in common, that they both have dated. Also picking up that there are other people in Kenya's friend group that have romantic and or sexual partners in common with Britt. Also picking up that I'm gonna have to ask for confirmation on that, but it's something coming up here that it may even be somebody that Kenya used to date that Britt also used to date. And that's tying into that petty shit here. Whereas it's given that it's not just that Britt was casted, it's amongst the fact that that group don't like Britt because they are all like jaded over some ex or something that they're stuck on that Britt also dated. It's a lot of petty ass jealousy and envy going on here. And it's having to do with one, Britt being casted. It also seems like, again, this is not confirmed. I would have to confirm this as well, allegedly through my cards, of course. But it's something coming up here that there may have been a lot of backing and a forthing between Britt and someone else in Kenya's friend group. And so they may see Britt as the side chick that broke up everybody's happy home type shit. And now she's married and hunky-dory and, given this imagery of a life. And then she also gets casted as a housewife and, certain other people that felt like they should have had that spot didn't get it. So yeah, it's giving that type of mentality, that type of motivation towards Britt. And with this Six of Cups here, it's a lot of the Six of Cups and all of this orange as well. It's giving a lot of alcohol involved, a lot of indulging. So what I'm seeing here, and this kind of references back to something that Britt. This brings up something that Britt spoke on as it concerns Ming Lee when she commented online, and she said that Ming Lee admitted to her about having some pictures in her phone of her and all of that. So it's not giving me that specific scenario. What it's giving me is a pattern, a build up, and I'm getting like this is before filming type shit. Before filming started, there were group hangouts, interactions, and such, and it's given that there was a lot of like encouraging of people to get drunk so that they would tell their truth, so that they would spill tea for other people to use against them. And what I'm picking up on is Kenya being a ringleader of this, facilitating drunk conversations, under the influence conversations, so that people can spill tea, and so that she can collect stuff to later on use against them, and or take note of people that she can use as weapons later on. Okay, so keep that in mind. That's a lot. That's a lot. I was not even expecting all of that. And again, of course, that is also a yes card. And y'all know I asked the question in a bunch of different ways. So for that one, it was me asking for the Six of Cups, that is. The Six of Cups and the Princess of Cups. I asked, did Kenya set out to make Britt an enemy, like initially, from the time that she was casted, and is it because she was casted? Okay, so the first time I asked, was it her initial decision to make Brisket an enemy once she was casted? Simple as that. We got a yes with the Six of Coins. And then for the Six of Cups and the Princess of Cups, I asked, did she set out to make Britt an enemy because she was casted and one of her friends wasn't? And we have the Six of Cups and the Princess of Cups, which are both yes cards. And y'all heard me just read off the Six of Cups card. With the Princess of Cups, it ties into someone being used as a mouthpiece. And it feels like this is someone who is not a cast member on the show. And based on the imagery and the way that it's channeling through, it could be the friend that, I'm not sure if her name is Akila, but it's the very, very light-skinned girl. The very, very light-skinned girl that was standing beside Ming Lee at Kenya's event. It is probably her, or it's someone else that's in like Kenya's little clique that's being used as a mouthpiece. I'm also picking up, and this is another end of something else, okay? So this other person that I'm picking up that Princess of Cups represents is Kelly. And that's interesting too, because if I'm not mistaken, Kelly is a Pisces. So that would like tie right into like Princess of Cups energy type shit, the water and all of that. But it's not giving me that Kelly was like a part of facilitating any attacks on Britt or anything, but she may have been used unbeknownst to her, such as she's just interacting, she's just talking, and exchanging regularly, and she don't realize that people are taking everything that she's saying and they're gonna twist it and weaponize it one way or another. Similar to what Portia did when she was talking to her about her asking Shamia why Portia take that lady husband type shit. And Kelly told her, what happened, and Portia took what she said and completely just ran with it and made Shamia a villain type shit. So it's given that there are some other people that have done Kelly like that, and that may also be a part of why Kelly had such a strong reaction to what Kenya did at her event. And it's not to say that Kelly didn't genuinely feel like, oh, this is dead ass wrong, standing with my friend, whatever, what have you. But it's given that it's also because Kelly recognized something that she said or had talked about with Kenya or amongst the group or whatever, and it made its way into Kenya's presentation, and that made her feel like, bro, what the fuck? Like, I didn't say that. I didn't give you, like, I wasn't saying that for you to use it like that. What the fuck? Because her genuinely feeling on the inside like, bro, what the fuck? Like, I literally am not in on this. I do not agree with this, but this bitch done took something I said just on some casual shit that I don't even remember saying, and then fucking ran with it. And it's also given that this could have been done like before the shit really even hit the fan, like conversations that were had before shit even hit the fan. Because what it's feeling like and what it's giving me is Kelly may have been trying to, like, in a way, like, no tea, no shade when I use this terminology, but she was kind of trying to be a representative for Britt to Kenya, because it's giving me, as much as the other ladies on the show acted like they didn't notice any tension from Kenya to Britt or between them building up or anything, it very much so was noticed and felt. And it seems like, and I may pull some cards on this with this coming out, but it feels like a narrative was being micromanaged by production, because it's people involved that aren't that aren't cast members. So you can't say their name because they're not cast members. If you say their name, they have to come on the show, they have to be mic'd up, they got to sign contracts, they got to get paid. So also, it's something here too about, like, somebody here didn't want this beef between Kenya and Britt. Somebody really didn't want the beef. They really wanted to be cool. They really wanted to, like, take the narrative elsewhere. And I have, based on what's come out in this reading, I have to, and amongst, the rest of the cards that I pulled too, but I have to believe that it's Britt that really didn't want the beef, even though what was shown on the show is, her steady bringing it up and, stuff like that. And generally when somebody is steady bringing up somebody's name, it's because they want smoke. They want that interaction. They want that scene. But what we also have to keep in mind too is that the producers on call sheets, they do, like, bullet points. I can't think, the minutes. They mark the minutes for the scenes. So it's marked what topics need to be touched on for the scene, right? So what this is bringing up to me is Britt may very well have not wanted the beef at all, but she kept bringing it up in the scenes because it was marked in her minutes that she had to bring that up, because that tension was noticed. Regardless of what the other cast members and Portia and all of that is saying, that tension was noticed by the cast members, by production, and all of that. Those interactions and all of that beefish that was building up, it was noticed. And it's giving, now granted, all of this is alleged, y'all, because I wasn't there, but I'm just reading off what's coming through the cards and what's channeling through my spiritual gifts. And that is, production said, y'all got beefage going on, y'all gotta talk about it. We need this. Ain't no half-stepping right now, because RHOA is kind of in shambles with the ratings and the reviews and all of that. So they were like, y'all not fixing to avoid this conflict. Similar to Drew and Portia's conflict, how there are some people who have the perception that Drew is dragging it and she just won't leave Portia alone. Drew is doing her job. It's marked on the minutes that they have to address this, because that is what's going on. That is their job. They have to address what is going on. And it's also bringing up that the OGs are being made examples out of, because it is as though a lot of the OGs got to a certain point where they feel like they want to put their dick on the table and they want to try to gatekeep their position, if you will. So we see on camera, like, Portia is trying to avoid Drew, Kenya trying to avoid Britt. But in actuality, the way it's channeling through, they're throwing rocks and hiding their hand. They know that these things are marked in the minutes. They're marked on the minutes to be addressed because it's what's going on. They know that. But they get in the scene and they start stonewalling the other girls because they're trying to sun them. They're trying to use their seniority to sun them and also to like weaponize the audience against them. It's very sociopathic. It's a lot of sociopathic games being played here. Okay, so that being said, I'm gonna take it back to what was being said about Kelly and, you know, somebody not wanting the beef, right? So I'm hearing Kenya refuse to do one-on-one scenes with Britt. I'm hearing it was constantly brought up for them to do one-on-one scenes, you know, some type of sit down for them to come together and talk about, you know, what happened, this and that, da da da. Similar to Shamia and Angela, and also what Drew keeps trying to do with Portia, which is their job. So it's giving that because Kenya refused to do a one-on-one scene with Britt, in the meantime, in between time, Kelly was trying to talk Britt up to Kenya for the sake of them, you know, having a come to Jesus moment or whatever, what have you, on something like, you know, give her a chance. I know she probably, you know, come off a certain way, or she may be a little rough around the edges. She may come off weird, but this is something that she's been through. You know, whatever it is that she told Kenya, that Kenya then weaponized, is given that she was telling Kenya that for her to have a better understanding of Britt, for her to understand where Britt comes from, like on some, you know, y'all have similar backgrounds, you know, y'all have similar traumas. She also experienced this, you know, when she was however old, this happened with her, and this is why she, you know, comes off this way, da 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 da. And so Kelly just trying to like be a middleman peacemaker type shit. She didn't realize that Kenya was already committed to tearing Britt down. And I know for a lot of people that's gonna sound weird and contradictory because a lot of people have this solidified perception of Kenya and who she is and how she operates and, you know, how she may think and feel about herself and all of that. But also, like, I challenge you to really take into account the energy that Kenya was given during that presentation, because it was not confident. Her body language, her delivery of words and all of that, and even the fact that she had to get drunk as fuck to even do it, lets you know that it's not an alignment. She don't believe a lot of those positive affirmations that she speaks over herself. And that's unfortunate because I do believe that they are true about her. And a lot of people see those positive affirmations that she speaks over herself as being true. But if she herself does not believe it for real, she can say it all day. She can twirl all day. She can take as many shots of Don Julio and Acafulio as much as she wants. But the proof will be in the pudding, and the pudding is in the actions. So you do with that what you will. People who are truly confident in themselves, particularly, I'm just gonna say it straight up, women who love themselves for real, as women, as beings, as who they are, they don't go out of their way to slut shame and sex shame other women. Why? Because sex is how we exist, and women are the sexual beings. We are the originals. Men come from us. So when you sex and slut shame another woman, you automatically do that to yourself, and you let everybody know that that's what you do to yourself. That's how you think about yourself. You hate yourself. You're ashamed of yourself. And so whether you want to accept that or not, whether you want to believe that or not, that is what it is. That is fact. It's no different from women who call themselves bisexual. And so they date men and women, and they say that when they're in relationships with men, they're the utmost faithful, they're a great woman, wifey material. But when they with these bitches, quote unquote, they dog these hoes, quote unquote, like a man, quote unquote. That is self-hate. That is self-hate. So as difficult as it may be for some people to take in, you know, the messages that are coming through as it concerns Kenya and certain things that she's said and done in the midst of this interaction and her, you know, initial intents and all of that, allegedly, I behoove you that, you know, just really take a look at what be going on for real, and it won't be that hard to believe, to be honest. So the final card from this layout we have is the 5 of Cups. And here, the way I asked the question was, did Kenya set out to make Britt an enemy because Britt was officially casted? Okay, the first time I asked, did she initially set out to make Britt an enemy, period? For 6 of Cups and Princess of Cups, I asked, did she set out to make her enemy because she was casted over one of her friends? For the 5 of Cups, I asked, did Kenya set out to make Britt an enemy because Britt was casted, period? And we have the 5 of Cups, which in a regular sense and normal depictions, it's a no. But in the Mystic Monday Tarot deck, it is more so like a yes and a no. Okay? So that ties into basically confirming, allegedly, the rest of the other cards. Whereas I asked, did she set out to make her enemy? And did she set out to make her enemy because she was casted over someone else that Kenya wanted to be casted, such as one of Kenya's friends, okay? So those were all yes. This one is giving yes and no. It's giving more of a gray area, a hesitant yes, a probable no. And that's because essentially it's missing that element of, it's not just because she was casted, it's because she was casted over someone else that Kenya wanted to be casted. And also, of course, all of those other strings that I talked about being attached, such as there's a particular way that they see Britt and they felt like it's fine you know, associate with us and all of this and that, and we'll keep it cute as long as you lay low. But now you on this show, you got to go. Bars. So yeah, that's what that is giving. And once again, that Five of Cups energy, you know, it's giving that theory or saying of like, it's the glass half empty or half full type shit. So that's tying back into the jealousy and envy and all of that, and basically them feeling like what she represents, she shouldn't have what she have, she shouldn't be where she is type shit. So gonna move on to the next layout. All right, so for this layout, it's just me asking if Britt initially had any intent to make Kenya an enemy and all of that. So that's what I asked. I asked, did Britt initially have any, you know, initial beginning intent to make Kenya an enemy for clout? So okay, let me take you through how I asked. So the first time I asked, did she have any initial intent to make Kenya an enemy? And we got the moon card in reverse, which is a no. Because this is the moon card and it's in reverse, it gives though that there were some murmurings, some things that she had heard and some things that she noticed before filming and before like having that initial interaction with her on the show. There were some like little murmurings of stuff that she had heard, but she wasn't latching on to that. She wanted to, like, you know, get to know Kenya for herself, and they have that experience and not just judge things based on, you know, what other people are saying or what it's seeming like from jump. And again, I know that's something that's probably going to be difficult for a lot of people to take in, but honestly, after watching that scene back, that initial interaction scene back, I can truly believe this. I can truly believe this. And I'm going to tell you why at the end of the video. So, for that first question, did Britt set out to make Kenya an enemy? We have a no with the moon in reverse. And we also have that there were some things being said and done that, you know, caused her a little confusion. Like, is something going on? But she didn't let herself get attached to that. She wanted to get to know Kenya herself, and she wanted them to be able to experience each other for themselves. So, I then asked, did Britt decide to capitalize off of the beef with Kenya eventually? And we have the devil sideways, which presents both a yes and a no. So, I mean, of course, inevitably, a job to do, you know, what I already explained, a job to do at some point, one way or another. She had to make the decision that it was in her best interest to capitalize off of the beef, such as, okay, it's going on, I got a job to do, let's go ahead and get this bag, chop this up, argue about it, whatever it is that we got to do, and move forward. But the no part, the reason why the no part is there is because still in her heart, she genuinely didn't want to have an issue with Kenya. She genuinely did not want to be beefed out with Kenya. It's given she genuinely wanted to be Kenya's friend. At least she would have rather had been Kenya's friend. And there's also something that I'm hearing right now through my channeling. I'm hearing and seeing interactions, because what a lot of people don't realize is that when, most of the time, when filming is about to start for reality shows, the cast members have to have little powwows and stuff to build chemistry. They don't just go cold on camera and start like doing scenes with each other. Like, no matter how long the show has been going on, when they get those contracts and they start knowing, you know, when they're going to start filming, at certain points, they make the effort to hang out with each other, build chemistry, and, you know, formulate certain things, ally strategies, stuff like that. That type of thing is common to go on. That's also why sometimes when you're watching reality shows and they get on camera and they're like, oh, well, you know, I reached out to you, you know, all season, and you weren't trying to kick it with me when the cameras were down. You weren't trying to do this and that, da 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 da. It's deeper than just are we real friends or not. It's deeper than that. It also goes into what you trying to do when we get up here on this show. You trying to sneak me with something? Are you an ally? Because I thought we were allies. I thought that, you know, when we come into navigating this show, when we come into filming, that whatever would happen, you gonna be on my side. You gonna, you know, we gonna have this united front narrative. it brings up the comparison to like what's going on with Yandy and Rashida. And if you watch the show, have you seen any of the clips and you listen to what Rashida said, she mentioned something about like on these types of shows, it's a difference between having real friends and having allies. And so in that and what's going on between Rashida and Yandy, you can deduce. Now, granted, Rashida ain't a friend to no motherfucking body, but just to like tie it in and make it make sense to the example that I'm giving, Rashida may feel like, well, it's hands off. I don't have to be a united front with you on this show right now while you got tea coming out about your marriage. I don't have to reach out to you while we're filming and figure out what you want to say and how you want to tell, this narrative, what story you want to tell everybody so that I can make sure that we're saying the same thing. I don't have to do that because when I reached out to you during the off season, I didn't hear from you. So are we friends or are we allies? I initially knew that it was more of an allyship anyway, but you're not even holding up on that. So what the fuck I look like getting on this TV on this show, especially with everything going on in my neck of the woods and trying to help you keep up some front. Okay? Follow me. Now, all that said, Spirit is saying that in some of the powwows that were had before filming and before everything was officiated, from Britt's perspective, it seemed as though her and Kenya were building some type of fun friendship. Like they had some sort, because the imagery that I'm getting is some parties, some brunches where it's a good time and Kenya and Britt are vibing on some like fun girl shit, like joking, laughing, twerking type stuff. And not like, I ain't saying that they was like texting and talking to each other on the phone all day and shit. No, that's not what I'm saying. What's being shown and said is there were a lot of like festive powwows that were had to, build chemistry and see who would work well with who and who would be chosen, who would have a peach, who not, all this and that, kind of like, not necessarily like soft auditions, but like stuff that's put together formally, informally for potential cast members to build chemistry, like I said. And so it's giving, and this is what Spirit is saying, that's a part of why Britt was casted, because she had real good chemistry with Kelly, and it's also given that it was shown that she had real good chemistry with Kenya when it came to like fun event type stuff, which is also why the plan was to show, and it's a Spirit speaking through me here, which is also why they strategically had Britt and Kenya have their meeting, their introduction at a event at Shamia's party, because they were expecting to get like the Twin Towers, bubble gums and roses, twerking the building down type shit. They were expecting Britt to kind of bring out the fun version of Kenya type shit, and they vibe out at the events, and it'd be like some, maybe fun shade amongst them, but emphasis on fun. But once they started filming, shit switched, and I'm not gonna lie, it's crazy how that's coming out right there, because that is bringing up to me something that Britt said, and it also makes sense as to what I'm going to explain at the end of the video. For the final card in this layout, I asked it, Britt set out to start beef with Kenya for clout. And we got the King of Pentacles in reverse, which is a strong no. It's a blatant no, especially being the fact that I asked, did she do it for clout? And we got the King of Pentacles, coins associated with superficiality, money, all of that, clout. So it's in reverse. That's a straight up no. So this layout honestly shows that Britt is more pure-hearted than we've been shown and that we have perceived. And I'm even saying that for myself. I didn't really expect that from Britt's reading. I don't know what I expected, but it's giving Kenya is the real villain, y'all. And I ain't gonna lie, that's a little bit of an ouchie poo, because I like Kenya. I have actually been a strong fan of Kenya. Unbiased and able to acknowledge when she's way out of line and off her fucking rocker, but a fan of Kenya nonetheless, So, Now, all right, for this layout, I wanted to kind of focus on kind of like behind the scenes type stuff. So this will be channeling some of the stuff before the initial interaction, but also it'll be channeling the meantime and between time of filming and all of that. But all before the shit hit the fan at Kenya's event specifically, okay? And before, but leading up to the vault dinner confrontation where Britt decided she was a GTA NPC out of nowhere, Okay? Okay, so what I asked is, Did Kenya and her friends bully Britt behind the scenes? Did they bully and pick at her, antagonize her behind these scenes? And we have a yes card. That is the Six of Pentacles once again, coming in as a initial yes card and a yes card once again. Now, being the fact that this is repeated, it is also reaffirming and confirming the messages that came out with it the first time, which gives Kenya set out to make Britt an enemy. Kenya targeted her. And so it's saying and reaffirming and emphasizing that they bullied her behind the scenes because Kenya targeted her. All of it is tied together. Kenya wanted to make her an enemy. Okay, so going back into, once again, the imagery of the card and the channeling of the card, childish, petty, puppeteering shit going on. So what is being said and shown to me is Kenya wanted to make her an enemy. One, yes, because she was casted, and because she was casted over who she wanted to be casted, one of her friends, but also for clout. and again, I know that'll be hard for people to hear, because it's like, oh, why would Kenya need clout? Why would Kenya need to be for her, for clout, off of her, and da 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 da? But remember and also recognize what was said and also what has been shown in real time. The OG housewives are not being given the liberty of their seniority. That's been made very clear, particularly between last season and this season. Okay? The OGs are not in a position where they can be like, oh, I'm an OG, I said this, so it gotta happen, or I'm gonna walk, da da da. Because honestly, the network is trying to save coins. So they're not trying to put up with a bunch of diva bullshit from the OGs and all of this, when especially y'all think that y'all supposed to be able to just come on and fucking coast just because y'all OGs and fans are attached to y'all. Like, they have been very reliant, and this is also what's being channeled through. I'm not just talking shit right now. This is like messages that's been channeled through. The OGs have been have had a fire lit under their ass by production, because they have been coming on and just wanting to rely on the fans being attached to them, so where they don't have to do much, and also they don't even have to actually be right in a situation. A lot of the times when new girls come on, fans will automatically take a side of the OGs, whether the new girl has actually done anything to an OG or not. A new girl can simply be like, yes girl, amen, and the audience will be like, yeah, you need to shut the fuck up, they just got here, you need to shut the fuck up, you're new, you can't come for the queen. And it's like, bro, all they said was amen, goddamn. And so the OGs know that, and they have known that, and they have been trying to use that to their advantage. By way of, as was stated before, having these beef with the newer girls and then stonewalling them. So it still gets the crowd going and the audience talking and all of that, and it still keeps them on the quote-unquote side of right, at least as it concerns the audience. And it makes the newer girls do all of the work. And the fact that Spirit keeps bringing up the Drew and Portia situation to me, I may end up doing a reading on that particular situation too. But they're bringing it up to me right now because they're like constantly using it as an example. Whereas, okay, I see what they're saying. It's something going on in Kenya's life that Kenya is distracting from. It's something else. It ain't got nothing to do with the hair spa. It ain't got nothing to do with, like, nothing attached to the show. It's something very, very personal going on with Kenya, and she's been trying to distract from it. And so this thing with Britt was also a part of the distraction. That's why they're using Portia as an example, the situation going on with Portia and Drew as an example, because Kenya is doing the same thing that Portia is doing, using Drew to deflect from talking about the situation with Simon and Fallon and all of that and her divorce and what's going on over there. Kenya is low-key high-key doing the same thing. And it's given that she's also using that hair spa as a distraction as well, using Brooklyn as a distraction. Like, it's a whole lot of shit that she's using as a distraction. And I'm going to ask something because it's been on my mind anyway, and it seems to be channeling through this reading. I'm not going to say what it is right now. I'm going to put it in a different video. Because I want to handle that subject with care. So just know, allegedly, that's what's channeling through here, that Kenya is also trying to distract from something that's going on in her life. And she wanted real bad to distract from having it seen and talked about on the show and all of that. It's something that, like, she herself is not even trying to face. And so, that being said, she also, along with, you know, her wanting someone else to be casted over Britt, is also her wanting to have used this beef with Britt to distract what's distract from the real shit that is going on in her life. And all the while, she can maintain her spot on the show. She can maintain her seniority. She can maintain the image and the fans and all of that she had. And it can be like another name crossed off her list that she was able to successfully run off of the show. And she maintained her queen bee reputation type shit. You know, it's an age-old tactic of trying to make someone else look worse or make someone else look bad in order to make yourself look better. And there is also some destiny swap type energy going on here. And the way Spirit is communicating it and showing it to me, it seems like with all the envy energy that's in the midst of this, it gives that Kenya may have intended, maybe not even using the language in her mind, of course, of destiny swap, but the energy, the intent, the pursuit was giving Kenya attempted to destiny swap with Britt, but she got destiny swapped herself. It reminds me of the skeleton key, where Caroline was given everything that she needed to destiny swap herself, to literally body swap herself. She thought she was so smart. She thought she had everything to, take down the other people when all she did was take down her fucking self. So that same concept there. But all of that to say, from this 6 of coins, yes, allegedly, yes, Kenya and her friends were bullying Britt behind the scenes, and they wanted to make Britt look crazy and have the audience, weaponized against her, and eventually either run her off of the show or have her do something to sabotage herself to get herself kicked off of the show. Because there is something here about Britt having a reputation of being this is how it's coming up to me, okay? This is how it's being said, equal opportunity ass whooper. So it gives that Britt has a little rep of snatching these hoes up, kicking ass and taking names. So that's what's coming up that they wanted to provoke out of her. They wanted, and it's bringing it up. That's another reason why they keep bringing up Portia, okay? Because it's bringing up when Portia snatched Kenya. It's bringing up when Portia snatched Kenya. And I heard somebody else bring this up as a reference. Somebody that was doing a review on the show, they were just talking about the situation, but they were saying basically that Kenya was not afraid, that she didn't feel threatened for real by the veiled threats that Britt had spit out, because it was just her repeating the same tactic that she had done on Portia years ago with the megaphone, antagonizing her to make Portia hit her so that Portia could get kicked off the show. And in that scene at the vault, when they were leaving, Kenya said, please let her do something to me so she can get kicked off the show. Now, me personally, I believe that Kenya was like, that she felt threatened in the moment, that she genuinely felt unsafe, that she genuinely felt like, I don't know what this girl is capable of right now, or what she's talking about. Especially with it coming out through this reading here that Britt has a history of beating bitches up. And I know that there are people that said that Britt has a history of like getting her sisters to fight people and shit like that. And I'm not saying that ain't true either, but what's being channeled through this message, through this reading, is also that Britt also has a history of having hands, of beating bitches the fuck up. And so that was a part of their tactic to get Britt to go to that place where she snap out and she start beating bitches the fuck up. They wanted her to snap and do something that would get her kicked off the show. Potentially assault Kenya or threaten her like she did, veil threats or, whatever have you, like she did, and basically have her to sabotage herself in that way and get herself off the show. Similar to what was done with Portia years ago. And I want to emphasize that this doesn't take accountability from each individual, okay? However, it doesn't take away the sinister nature and how predatory it is for someone to say, ooh, that person's a loose cannon. Let me go poke at them so that they can ruin their life. Like for you to literally go out of your way. Like that's something too that, let me save that for the end of the video. So moving forward, as we get into the 10 of Cups, what I asked is, what is Kenya and her crew's real issue with Britt? So like I said, we got the 10 of Cups here, and just straight out the gate, it's envy. All they do is envy. Don't they know what's in me? Don't they know I'm coming back? Swinging for that envy. Why would they offend me? Why they go against me? Don't they know I'm coming back? Swinging for that ass. But that's what it's giving, y'all. It's giving envy. They see Britt as the 10 of Cups. They see her as having it all. They see her as abundant, wealthy, rich, not just in material, but also in essence. This is given that Britt has a vibe about herself, an energy about herself that is very rich and refreshing and abundant. Again, I know they may sound crazy or hard to take from certain people. You may have your perspectives of Britt or whatever. I myself feel like Britt is a nut. I myself have said that I feel like Britt might have like some chaotic ass energy if you're actually in person with her. But based off this reading, at least from Kenya and her crew's perspective and the perspective of people that they, have observed interact with Britt and that have spoken on Britt and all of that, Britt is a vibe. Britt is a very rich energy, a very rich essence. And there is a lot of envy surrounding her marriage. They don't like that Britt is married. They don't like that she has the man that she has. They don't like the dynamic. Like, they are envious of that. I don't mean that they don't like it, like they don't agree or something. No, they are envious of it. They admire it to a fault. And that's going to take us perfectly to one of the questions that I'm going to ask in the next video, and also something that I'm going to point out at the end of this video. But to simply state it right there, what's their real issue with Britt? Envy. They're jealous. They are jealous and envious of her. And again, a lot of y'all may feel like Britt ain't got shit to be envious of, da 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 da. That may be your perception. You got every right and reason to feel that way. But from their vantage point, from their neck of the woods, Britt has it all, and they feel like she shouldn't. So, moving on to the Nine of Swords. For the Nine of Swords card, I asked, is there any footage of Kenya and her crew picking at Britt, bullying Britt, that production edited out that we just have not been shown? And it's the Nine of Swords, so that is a no. The only thing with the Nine of Swords is that it is a cautious no. So accompanying that with the method of which Kenya and her crew set out to do this, it's possible that there could be footage that is shown of them picking at her, but to the naked eye, if you will, it wouldn't be perceived as that. Like, it would be very difficult to point it out and say that's bullying straight up, So that could be why that's come out in the Nine of Swords as a cautious no. But either way, it's a no. There's no like unseen footage of them picking at her that production edited out or anything. So what that is giving here is time back to the rest of the messages that have come out. They were very strategic about this up until a certain point. Okay, so they were very strategic about this when it comes to not doing blatant stuff on camera or when the cameras are around or when mics are on or anything like that. It's a whole lot of behind the scenes chicory, dickory, dock, and string pulling, meantime, in between time, bullshitting. Because it just keeps coming up and it keeps being said they wanted to make Britt look crazy. They wanted to drive her crazy. They wanted to make her look crazy, and they wanted to provoke her to have her crazy come out on camera. So it's very much so a throw a rock, hide your hand type of energy and way of doing shit. Fucking with her behind the scenes in the meantime, between time when there's no cameras around, but then knowing that there are going to be certain things marked in the minutes to where she has to address certain shit. And she's going to have to address it in a certain way where she can't talk about certain other people because they aren't cast members. So it all just builds up and formulates in a way that starts to make her look crazy. And the more she feels like she's looking crazy, the more she actually goes crazy and snaps out. But they intended it for it to be more of a violent response, for her to actually do something to get herself kicked out, as opposed to saying something that could just call it into question. And that's regardless of how you feel like it should have been handled. Okay, speaking on what it is. So now we get into the Magician card. And so I asked, did Kenya start this whole beef with Britt? Did she start it? The answer is yes, by way of that Magician card. And being the fact that it is the Magician, it ties back into Kenya puppeteering, micromanaging, doing psychological warfare, long game shit. This is very sinister shit. All the way down to whether she intended for it or not, whether it's mindless or mindful. This is evil and it's dark magic. What she's done to Britt is dark magic. And I'm not saying she intended to. I'm not saying she got in her room and drew a pentagon or lit some candles or burned a bay leaf on her and her shit. I ain't saying that. But I am saying that the nature, the energy of what Kenya has done over the course of all this time, this ain't even touching on the presentation. This is building up. This is psychological and spiritual warfare that she ignited on Britt, according to the channeling of this reading. Okay. So for the final card in the layout, I asked, were there things set in place, such as like things weaponized and plotted and all of this against Britt before recording started? Did the bullying, the microaggressions and all of that, the plotting, scheming, weaponizations, did all of that start before recording? And with the Wheel of Fortune, we have a yes. And I know that it's sideways, but the Wheel of Fortune is a yes card both ways. It just has different energy. So this is what Spirit is communicating by way of that Wheel of Fortune sideways, as it is giving yeses to them having started all of this up before filming started. So it's given that in first-hand interactions, they were playing nice with Britt. And then subtly within the interaction, they'll let something slip out that shows how they really feel about her, and then they'll flip right back to the nice shit. Okay? Oh, keep that in mind to what I'm going to explain when I get to the end of this video, child, because it just sparked another epiphany for me. Anyway, so that said, it's given that they would have these interactions with her, play nice in her face, periodically give her a backhand compliment, periodically. I'm going to give y'all an example of kind of how it goes. So, oh, hey, Britt girl. Yeah, you're cute. Yeah. You know I really don't like you, right? I'm just saying, I just really don't understand why you didn't let me know where you got that dress from, because it is bad and I would like one for myself. Like, damn, you stepped up in here looking better than the rest of us. You should have told us you was coming like that. We would have put on our best too. Like, what? Damn. Okay, you know, that nice, nasty shit where you feel that energy, but it's a little bit difficult to put your finger on where the shade lies. Whole lot of trickery, dickery, dock, smoke and mirrors, and moon ass energy. Spiritual and psychological warfare. That being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get into the commentary portion of this video. And I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. And I'm keeping it specifically to the topics of this video and this reading. So, first things first, I'm the realist now. Oh shit. First things first. A load of things that came out in this reading, I was honestly shocked to see, hear, and channel. To be honest, a part of me was kind of hoping that Kenya wouldn't be communicated to be so childish and petty. It's very interesting that Spirit communicated that Kenya is the real villain, and that Britt, while not the perfect victim, if you will, actually has the more pure heart. But I told y'all, I was gonna tell y'all a key reason why I can believe that at this point, because I watched that introduction scene with them back before I started recording and doing the reading and all of that. And in that introduction scene, a lot of people made this like Britt was just bitching about a hug and, you know, awesome old shit. But no, Kenya walked in, she spoke to Drew, she spoke to Cynthia and all of them, all of that hug, kiss, kiss, all of that good shit. When she hugged Cynthia, Britt was literally standing right there in front of Kenya. Britt said, hi, hey Kenya. She spoke to her right there, right when she hugged Cynthia. She said, hey Kenya. Kenya looked right over her and said, where's the birthday girl? Britt then said again, well, she then said, how are you? Kenya still look over her and act like she don't hear her. Kelly then speaks to Kenya, and Kenya looks right on over to Kelly, makes direct eye contact with her, kind of leans down, of course, because Kelly is short, and starts talking to Kelly. And then Britt says, well, I'm Britt. And then Kenya finally looks up and speaks to her and says, oh, hey, Britt, hey, how are you? So watching that back, it made it very clear to me that Kenya was deliberately playing Britt dust for absolutely no reason at all. And if everybody is going to act like Kelly definitely heard Britt when she said the threats that she said, Kenya definitely heard Britt the 3 times she spoke to her, standing right there in front of her and next to her, standing right there. If Kenya heard Kelly, little itty bitty self, she definitely heard and saw Britt speak to her and standing there in her all white, same height as her, just about, if I'm not mistaken, speaking to her loudly 3 times right there. Okay, so that being said, I can't believe, because the first time I had watched the episode, I didn't even really, notice that part. But and mind you, when I watched this scene back, it was before I looked at the cards. I hadn't read off the cards or none of that. I was just watching the scene back just to see what I would see and how I would see it. And that's what I saw. And so getting to the cards and reading them off, and also I don't start particularly, sometimes I do an outline, and I will say if I did an outline before I came on. But for this, I did not do an outline. I just pulled the cards, took pictures of them, and came and started recording. When I start recording, that's when I really start channeling. Okay, so those moments where you hear me being shocked about the message that came through, I am genuinely shocked at the message that came through. And you hear me having moments where I'm shocked about, or oh, okay, that makes sense. I'm having genuine impulsive responses to light bulb moments from shit that I seen. So certain stuff that was channeled through, it made me think very heavily back to me just watching that scene back, and it making total sense to me. It making total sense, because like I said, I feel like Britt is Nutty Boo. I do. And I was everlastingly ready to get on here and these cards and the channeling come out that, Britt is delusional as hell and she's making stuff up and she just wanted a problem with Kenya. She wanted some clout, da da da. And that's not what came out. So, again, like I said, I wanted to stick strictly to what was covered in this video. I'm gonna mention it, but I'm not gonna get into the depths of the ring conversation. I'm going to save that for the next part. Okay, so the next video that I do will be getting into the ring exchange. Okay, was it shady? Was Kenya truly trying to be shady and all of that? I mean, we can speculate and imply and infer based on things that came out in this reading in this particular part, but we still gonna do the deep dive and see what they say. But with all that being said, child, if I do say so myself, honey, I have milked this couch your ride, and I'm thoroughly appreciative for the exchange of vibes. And if you're feeling synchronized, please do me a divine design and like, share, and subscribe so that you could be one of the first to be back through these queenly quotas falls next time. And be sure to bless my comment section with your questions and conversations. And as always, I bid you in all ways, light, love, healing, and liberation. Emphasis on liberation. Mwah.